right, welcome back to Let the Conversation Continue. Man, where we get to all of your comments and all that good stuff from our original segment, man. And man, we talked about some good stuff, man. Talked about the role of black churches. Man, saw some varying views or opinions in the comments. So we'll get right to that, man. But, you know, I did want to talk on one subject, and that's confession letter. You know, everybody gonna sit there and say, how can y'all tell this man to do this and this and that? I got a message on my phone that somebody text me and said, how can y'all tell this man to do that? I'm gonna tell you something. These people knew what they was getting themselves into when they wrote in.
I mean, I just told him to be himself.
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
Somebody texted me, it's like, how can y'all tell this man to do this and do that? Let me tell you something. People, when they write in, we tell them, right, ahead of time. It's all over our pages and our platform and say, hey, look, if you write in the confession letter, don't be surprised at the answers that you get. 2 weeks ago, right?
We're
2 weeks ago.
Well, I told him if he's still working on himself and he's gotta, you know, he don't want to bring that into a relationship.
But see, I think what people. Yeah, what I think people want us to say is they want us to coddle him and be like, man, you need help, man. Go find your inner peace. Nah, man, forget that. Grown man, 38 years old, living in the house with his mama.
I mean, I just said.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying what you said.
I'm just saying. I get that. What I'm saying is,
if you're uncomfortable with your false profile, then you need to work on yourself first, and so you don't have to.
Right. But see, my thing is this: it ain't the first time that he's done this. He's been doing false profiles, so there's an issue with him. And I'm saying, good luck, bro, because it's going. You know, hey, you got to deal with it. You got to deal with that.
How you know it's the first time with him? How you
gonna set up an eHarmony fake profile, and you talking about you ain't in the place where you want to be personally? So that means this ain't the first time. I be watching Catfish, bro. I be watching that show. And them Bammers, they good. You know what I'm saying? They good with it. Trent, you should know. I'm just saying. You should know.
All I told him was he need to be himself. I mean, I've met guys that have embellished themselves on dating apps to be something that they're not. Not to the point where I did meet one guy who had like a completely fake picture. And he was like, do I look like my profile? And I basically said no.
Like, hold on, wait. Somebody hold up.
This was years ago.
You hold on. Somebody asked you or you asked them? They asked you.
No, they asked me if they looked like their profile picture.
And you was like, no.
Like, no. Oh. I don't think it was the same person. If it was, it had to be like 10 years earlier.
You know, these Bammers be 38 years old putting up high school pictures talking about something. Look at me now.
Yeah.
I've had that happen too, where it was like you could tell it was that person, but like 15 years ago.
Anyway.
And Elijah, I'm not catfishing anybody, bro.
Shit. Elijah. Shit. Elijah, you believe that story if you want to. You believe that story if you want to. All right, Adrian Amos Sr. said, what's up with the glasses? Man, the glasses. Nehemiah brand. Branded Bespoke Eyewear, man. He put it in there. I'll put it up for you again. www.branded-bespoke-i-wear.com. Make sure y'all hit them up, man. Telling you, they got all kinds of glass frames out there for you, man. Fashionable stuff, very fashionable stuff.
But yeah, I don't know. All I said was for the dude to be himself. Like if he feels like he's got to lie, then yeah, you need to work on yourself.
Let's jump into the black church topic because Elijah Bowser, he was adamant during the comments. He said I don't think they should. Andrea Winston Rose said I definitely think they should play a role. So we got two different viewpoints. Amy Latour says some churches have also taken an elitist mentality within their own. I mean, yeah, you know. So
That's
we got,
That's true.
Yeah. So we got some varying opinions there, and I'll jump on. I think from what we gathered from our conversation earlier, I think most of us agree with Andrea and say they definitely should play a role. But I'm gonna take a step outside the box here, and I'm a join forces with Elijah here and say they shouldn't, right? And I say this because, like I said, 1960 is different from 2021, right? Where it comes, our relationship with the churches in the community. What point do we feel like the churches might be getting in the way? When I say that, we're talking about how they're looking for attention. We're looking for the spotlight. You might be trying to take that away from the actual movement.
Really, yes and no. I mean, I think that the role of the church, they get this tax-free money, and they should be using some of that to uplift their community.
Yeah,
They
no.
should be using some of that to
Yeah,
fight
no.
social issues. I mean, and not just the black church, all churches.
Yeah.
But you have some churches that don't use that money for what it's supposed to be used for. They
Yeah.
use it for their own self-gratification. And that is completely like
Building fund,
against
benevolence
what
fund.
church is supposed to be, and that therefore you have this broken trust with the community and the church.
Yeah, but I won't sit there and say that they got all this tax free money, they should be using it for all that. We can't. I mean, we can't decide or decipher what churches or any establishment should be using the money for. But I will say this: if in fact you run into an issue where you feel that churches are getting in the way of your movement, then I mean, there's obviously no need for them to do it, right? You have to kind of butt them to the side and say, no, we don't want your help.
They should be the ally.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about this separation stuff, right? We used to talk about this a couple months ago, maybe about a year ago on the show. As a matter of fact, man, we're coming up on a year. I just now thought about that. Oh snap, we're coming up on a year, y'all. So when we talked about that kind of stuff, we were talking about how churches have responsibilities, states have responsibilities, local government have responsibilities, and the people have responsibilities. So I mean, I'm now I'm thinking about it, and I'm looking at what Elijah said. I'm like, what? He actually might have a point. And I would hope that Elijah comments, provide some more detail or explanation in your comments on why you said that, because he might actually have a point. Because now we start mixing.
No, yeah, I want to hear more explanation why he said.
Yeah, because now
I am curious.
Yeah, because now we start looking at how we mixing in certain entities on a issue. Like I said, 1960s was different, completely different. But now it's 2021, and the role of the church. What is the role of the church? And I think he said it earlier. He said it earlier where he said the church should be to preach the word, pass the message, and that's it. Not saying that's it. I'm summarizing what he said. So but I don't know. Andrea Winston Roll, like I said, Andrea Winston Roll said, "Hey, I definitely think they should play a role." Okay.
I want to hear. I want to hear more explanation from both of them on their reasoning. I am curious.
Yeah.
Of why, and like you said, like Elijah said, like they should just preach the word or whatever. But and I agree with you, Ron, when you said it's not 1960 or anything like that. But I mean, you got to look at the past of things.
Okay.
There are a lot of things that probably would not have gone through or passed or
no, it wouldn't
been worked through if the church involved in it.
Right. Exactly. I mean? But that, like I said, that's completely different. So his earlier comment, Elijah's earlier comment said, delivery of the truth and the gospel should be a focus, but more importantly on saving souls and leading them back to God if they don't have God already. Okay. I agree with that. I think everybody would agree with that. And he said the focus on churches is to spread the gospel and save souls. Yeah. I get it.
Should that be their only focus, though? I mean, do people need the church for that?
What's the focus? What's the focus of McDonald's? Focus of McDonald's is to serve the customer a Happy Meal, Big Mac, double quarter pound of cheese. They don't have no other focus.
I mean, I get that.
Well, I mean, the mandate. I agree in a way with Elijah. Where I mean, the mandate is to preach the good word, right? Like that is the mandate. But if the church is not going to do it, if the church is not going to be a part of it, if they're amplified and they're supposed to have a higher authority on their side, wouldn't you want that higher authority on your side when it comes to a movement?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Pray for him. Because he said there are responsibilities to the community that churches can participate in. There you go. That's it right there. Very spot on, 100%. Bullseye. Elijah, you did that. I mean, I get it, but like you said, it comes a point where people start saying, "Hey, look, you got to get out of my way. You holding me up."
Yeah.
But what happens? But again, like I brought up earlier, what is when these organizations that are supposed to be focused on social, like black, let's just use like black injustice issues, whatever, and they're not doing the work that they're supposed to be doing. I mean, are we gonna hold them accountable?
Yeah, you gotta move them out the way.
Because again, if I'm hearing that the Black Lives Matter organization is getting millions and millions of dollars, but the money is not being allocated to the streets where the goal is supposed to be, where they talk about the goal is, what do you do? But again, I mean, every organization gets corrupted, whether it's a political organization or religious organization, in some way gets corrupted because man is corrupt in a way. You know what I'm saying? Man corrupts what he touches.
No, that's that. Yeah, very much. Well, it's a oh well. All right, so going on to the topic, to the comments, man. Elijah Jermaine Bowser talking about the airline Karen. It doesn't matter about the state. The airlines have the rule, and you can. Oh man, why they go that way? You can be banned from flying on the airline if rule isn't followed.
Yeah, I don't think we were saying that because the states got rid of the mask mandate that you don't have to wear them on airlines. I think that I'm just saying that these states that are having these mandates are making people try to use that as leverage, I think. Or it could lead to that. I don't know if people are using that as leverage, but it could lead to that. They could be like, well, we don't have to wear them in our state. Why do we have to wear them on the airline? Which I don't think that should fly. I just think it gives people more ammunition when they try to do stupid stuff.
Yeah, again, like this is their company, their regulation. Just like again, if it's a restaurant or whatever that says you can't come in here if you don't follow these, that's their company. They can tell you whatever they want to tell you.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Going to an earlier topic, Elijah was active today. Elijah said,
Thanks, Elijah.
Talk about face shields and masks. He said, no, the shield and the mask is not double masking. Shields don't do anything.
Because it's not really as protected. I don't think the face shield.
They protect your eyes. Apparently, COVID can get in through your eyes too. I think it's more so with rubbing your eyes. I don't know if it actually can get.
Man, if you standing that close to me to where I got to worry about something falling in my eyes, bro, we fighting.
I mean,
scrapping.
You can't see some of these microscopic droplets. You can't see what is coming in your
face. That's why I am wearing Branded Bespoke eyewear. You can cop these right now at Branded Bespoke eyewear and get you a nice little frame set, and then you don't have to worry about a face shield. There you go. Big plug out to Nehemiah. good
yeah, they just say that glasses helps with protecting your eyes from COVID.
That's good segue. Elijah Jermaine Bowser also said when we were talking about Meghan Markle, he said, we know she was murdered by the royals. LOL. Now who knows
Diana,
but
Princess Diana.
but Diana foretold she would be killed in a car accident.
Yeah,
You know what? And this is what people had mentioned. You know, once this royal wedding stuff took place years ago, right? They had mentioned that they feared that she would be the next Princess Diana. And I don't think I was old enough to even realize what was happening with Princess Diana. But when you look back on it and you start looking and you read up on stuff, you're like, damn, that's kind of crazy, you know. And I think she in an interview, maybe months prior, I think Princess Diana said some concerning things, right? You know, as some people equated it to Tupac's Machiavelli song, right? How Tupac came out and said, yeah, he's going to get killed. So, I don't know, man.
Here's the thing. I think the thing is, right, before they even got married, when they were just dating, the British media, you know, they were attacking her. They were attacking Prince Harry because they were going off of whatever Prince William was saying. Prince William was telling him, you know, you're moving too fast. You know, why you getting so serious with this person all of a sudden. And so they're going off of, because, you know, he's probably going to be, you know, king after, you know, Charles, whatever, Prince Charles, whatever. So it's one of those things. They're going off of what Harry, and also Prince Williams, you know, represented the, you know, the typical what they want and what they're looking for. So they were agreeing with Prince Williams, but like they were attacking her even before they even got married. They were just dating, and they were attacking her, including the brother. You know what I'm saying? And then when they got married, there was even tension right away from the jump with her and Kate. You know, and so it was like, oh, you know, British media chose sides.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
You know,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
of course they're not going, and of course they're not going to choose a biracial woman.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Forget Queen Elizabeth. All right.
Yeah, I don't say.
I just you know, that kind of stuff just makes you irritates you, because it's like, you know, the UK has always had issues with social justice issues that happen here in the United States. They've always come out and said stuff publicly, but you got your own. You know, it's just like us. It's just like us. We
whitewash color from the royal family,
right? But it's just like us.
Queen Charlotte was half black. They don't want they whitewashed that.
Yeah.
A lot of the Tudors, you know, had African ancestry, but they
shout out
whitewashed
Charlotte,
all
North Carolina.
Why did you whitewash it?
Yeah. And they whitewashed a lot of British history.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, we too often do we hear about like times when, you know, America's trying to weigh in on democracy or diplomacy issues or social justice issues elsewhere, and we got our own social justice issues. And, you know, UK, same thing. You know, they're talking about how, you know, we got issues, and I'm like, y'all got issues too. You know, like the pot calling the kettle black. You know, I don't know, man.
I'm glad she's back. She's back in America, and where she's got a little more protection. Because
is she? I thought she was in Canada. I thought they were in Canada. They're back in America.
No, they're in LA.
United States, yeah.
They're in LA now.
They split their time between LA. They were splitting their time between LA and Canada, but they got a crib and everything in LA now.
I mean, she's got her own like clothing line or something like that. She's come out with, right?
Oh, she was already like
she was already balling.
She was already worth $10 million before she even got with him.
Yeah,
man, they are well off. And the only thing they're missing is the title, and as you can say, the Prince.
And guess what? They clearly don't even want the title.
I mean, what he doesn't really. He's not going to be king. William's already going to be king. He's like, I think, down a long line before he could possibly be king. So
yeah, because William got 3 kids now.
Yeah.
Well, I just can't wait to be king. All right. Shut your ass.
But I think I don't know what else he would get for just having the title. I mean, I'm sure that comes with like money and stuff like that, but clearly they can make their own money.
Yeah, well, we got through most of the comments, man. Most of the comments kind of same thing, talking about some topics that we already covered. But you know what? I want to go back because me and Crystal had a discussion earlier.
Oh God.
Man, we're gonna be out here for the next 8 hours.
Crystal, so a couple weeks ago, y'all remember Crystal and I got to it about transgenders in sports and gender equality in sports and everything like that. Let me reiterate something. Just because somebody disagrees with the fact that a naturally born man has no business playing in a female sport, and I say female dominant sport, such as women's basketball, women's track, anything women's related, no men, does not mean that I don't think women should have an opportunity to justify themselves, I guess you say, or put themselves in positions where they can compete competitively. Now, I will say this. When it comes to physical ability, they are not the same when it comes to men and women. So I will leave it at that, and I'll let Crystal say what she got to say. Hold on. Hey, Pamela Townsend. Glad to see you come in, man. We appreciate you.
See, they came right on time.
I don't know who she is. I don't know who she is. I don't know who she is.
No, I'm talking about the people that were agreeing with you. Not last week, the week before.
But yeah, I'll let you say your piece.
So my opinion was basically that men and women should have equal opportunity to play sports. That didn't mean I said to integrate all sports. It doesn't mean I agree that naturally born men should be on women's teams, because I didn't say that. I think that before we could even solve those issues, the issue between men and women equality in sports should be solved. And it's just because you have a Title IX or whatever, it doesn't mean that it's equal. Even with that, it's still not equal. There's still not equal pay. There's still not equal training. There's still not equal opportunity for women to play certain male-dominated sports. And that's just my opinion. And there's a lot of gender discrimination out there, as we've seen with the Olympics and just in sports in general. So I think what's so funny about that? It is true. I think that before you can even solve the complex issue of transgender, you have to have.
There's nothing to solve when it comes to transgender. When it comes to these sports, when it comes to sports, there's nothing to solve. All right, so how you feel about you're in the bathroom, a lady's bathroom, and a transgender walks in and you obviously can tell that they're male. How you gonna feel?
I wouldn't feel any type of way.
All right, so if a straight man walked in, how would you feel?
I mean, I would think that they're in the wrong bathroom.
See the difference? Yeah. All right, so
I mean, to me, I wouldn't.
How can you feel one way for the other and not the other? It's not the same way for the other one. It doesn't make sense. They're both men.
One does not identify as a man.
Okay, so guess what? What if the straight man comes in and says, "Hey, look, I know I look like a man. I portray every image of a man, but I identify as a woman." You gonna sit there and say, "Oh, guess what? You can go ahead and use the bathroom."
I think you're taking it to the extreme. And then why not just have gender neutral bathrooms where men and women use the same bathroom? I mean, they have those
places are doing that now.
I mean, most places are, but they got one stall.
Yeah, I went to a restaurant the other day, same thing. It was one stall. Men and women.
Most clubs got that. Most clubs have that.
I don't feel any type of way. I mean, I could see if some women would feel some type of way if they've ever been in a situation where they've been attacked by a man or whatever. It may open up the door to that type of situation. But I think that could happen anywhere, not just in a bathroom. That could happen anywhere. You're in a space with, men and women. So I would have to see the statistics to say that, this type of thing happens more often.
You can't say that you need to see the statistics.
No, I mean, I would need to see that to say that, this type of thing happens more in a bathroom than it does in any other space. Because I don't believe that. I think if a man, or even, and I'm not just saying men just attacking women, it could happen the opposite way too. I mean, it could happen anywhere besides a bathroom.
So you do realize that women are given the opportunity to play sports, just separated. So you got women's track, you got men's track, you got women's basketball. You got women's basketball. You got women's basketball. You got men's basketball. You got women's lacrosse. You got men's lacrosse. You got women's field hockey. And you got men's hockey. You got women's hockey. So you got women's volleyball. You got men's volleyball. You got softball. You got baseball. You got.
You don't got football.
Yes, you do. You got football. You got women leagues out there, and you got men leagues. You got semi-pro. You got. You don't got women's pro football. Yes, you do. Look it up. There are women pro leagues out there. Just because they don't get the recognition, and the only reason I say they don't get the recognition is because nobody's paying for it. Nobody is paying to watch it. So guess what?
Well,
all right. So you do know you do know the NFL was not always the NFL, right? Prior to that, it was another league, AFL, and there was not a lot of people watching it when it first started back in the early 19 football period. People weren't really watching it. It grew over time. Okay, it became a national treasure. People started watching it and all this other stuff. And guess what? People started paying for it. And guess what? That's why you have the huge salaries when it comes to football and basketball. People are watching them. Nobody's watching WNBA. Nobody's watching. There's these other women hockey leagues or anything like that. So when you talk about pay, it's different. And and Trent, you made a point about the Olympic team, the women's soccer Olympic team. Yes, great team. Better than the men's. I agree. Anybody will tell you that. I love watching them because they actually play soccer. But the only time you hear about the women's soccer team is during the Olympic season or leading up to Olympic season. In between that time frame, the women's leagues don't really get. No, you hear about MLS. Major League Soccer.
You hear about like one or two guys.
No. No, I'm not gonna sit there and say you hear about one or two guys. If you're in the soccer community, you're talking about these people. Where I don't think neither one of us are in the soccer community.
Then you're also following women's soccer if you're in the soccer community.
But that's what I'm alluding to. And I said that when you have these different communities, people tend to be different when it comes to viewing, right? But when I talk about these women leagues. The women's leagues are not getting as much attention until the soccer league is not getting much attention until the Olympic season comes up. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, how can you sit there and say, well, there's a pay gap? Well, where's the money going to come from? That's just like saying, there's a pay gap or there's unemployment issues and all this other stuff in the nation, and we're like, okay, well, we gotta increase the minimum wage. I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that. I mean, there's some people that disagree with it, but I don't think anybody on this panel disagrees with it. But my argument is where can we get the money to pay for all this stuff? So when it comes to paying these athletes, these female athletes who don't get a lot of national media attention or recognition, how do we find the money to pay them? How do these leagues find the money to pay them?
Well, how do they find money to pay their male counterparts? It's the same damn thing.
I just told you they have viewers. People watch. That prime example, XFL. Do you remember XFL? XFL has been gone through the crapper twice because nobody watched it. And guess what? People weren't getting paid. The players weren't getting paid. Players were complaining about them missing paychecks bouncing because nobody was watching them. Crystal,
because they don't have.
What aren't you understanding about that? I don't understand. If you have a product, Crystal, you're a business owner. If you have a product, right, and you go out here and you sell it, and you're like, oh yeah, I got millions now, and then all of a sudden that stops, nobody buys it. You go, how you gonna pay yourself? You gonna say, well, nobody's buying my stuff. It's the same mentality. It works the same way.
Did you hear what I said? They don't have the sponsorships. The reason why you have the viewership of these men-dominated sports is because they have sponsorships from shoe companies, cereal, all kinds of, Gatorade, all kinds of shit that pay to get these
women's soccer sponsored by Nike and Gatorade.
They pay to get these games on national television to up their viewership.
Yeah, you gotta have money to do that. You gotta have money to do that, Crystal.
Exactly, and that's the sponsorships give the teams money.
Anybody who's sponsoring, it's just like people sponsor this show. They're not gonna sponsor this show if nobody's watching. You gotta have the sponsorships. The way sponsorships work is if you got an audience, if you have a following, they're gonna sponsor you so that way you can get more. And then guess what? In return, people start buying their products. That's how it works. So if nobody's watching women hockey leagues,
you can't say nobody will watch. People might watch if it's on. But I think what you're missing the point.
Thank you, Elijah.
I think you want to argue the fact, nobody watches, so we can't. Women's sports will never be successful.
I never said that. I never said that.
And you're saying, they don't deserve the same pay because nobody's watching.
Never said that. I never said they don't deserve the same pay. I said there's no way they can get the same pay if nobody's watching them. The sponsorships work. The way sponsorships work is if you have a following. If you have a market. If the market, the forecast of the market that you're in is bright, right? If it's bright, if the sponsors see that, they're gonna invest. If they don't see it, they're not going to invest. And then guess what? People are not going to pay to watch. They're not going to watch it.
I think also the culture hasn't changed towards women in sports as well. And I'm not just talking about the culture of these organizations. I'm talking about the culture of society as a whole, where sports has been mostly a male thing. And therefore, not a lot of women have gravitated towards watching sports because it's never been a woman thing to do to watch sports. I mean, now you have more women viewership in sports, but before, it wasn't.
I went before when? Before yesterday? Like when?
Oh my God!
No, I'm just saying. You said before, so like I need time.
You know what I'm talking about. The role of the traditional woman, ever since that has changed. You have women now that are more non-traditional, that are getting into things like sports. Therefore, you have more viewership of sports by women. Whereas before, when you had the traditional gender roles where a woman was supposed to take care of the house, take care of the kids, cook for their man or their husband.
So what's your point? What's your point with that? You're saying that
I think that culturally our society has to change to where you will get more viewership for women's sports, and that hasn't happened. And I mean, it hasn't happened yet. All that comes along with equality in sports. I mean, it's the same.
How? I'm just trying. Okay, so hold on, I'm confused now. Okay, I'm confused.
You're confused because you're not seeing the big picture.
No, I know you're confusing me because what you're saying is in circles. I just need to stick to one topic, okay? So
it's all the same topic.
It's not the same. You cannot put there and say you cannot sit there and say it's the same topic, Crystal. Equality is one thing. Equality is a generalized thing, but we're breaking it down. Okay, we're breaking it down. We're breaking it down. We're breaking it down.
I'm breaking it down to where it comes into culture, systematic oppression, all of this. It all plays the same part. It all plays a part in inequality. If you look at any type of inequality, you could find their roots in the system and culture and everything. Just
Okay,
like
so
you,
wait,
feel
hold on. Going back to
like-
what you just said. Going back to what you said about cultural differences when you're talking about women in the past, and I'm thinking you're talking about the 70s and the 80s, right? 60s, 70s, right? Hello, 60s, 70s,
even-
80s. It's just
even today.
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand what you're saying. So I just need a simple yes or no. You're talking about the women's in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, right?
I'm not
compared
putting
to-
a timeline on it.
How can you not put a time limit on it? I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Because there are still
I'm
women-
sitting here. No, hold on. I'm trying to sit here and understand what you're saying. So I'm asking you a question. You're talking when you were talking about the cultural differences about women. You're talking about the 60s,
put her
70s, and the
hands
80s. You're talking about the 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? Compared to today. Is
I'm
that
not-
what you're talking about?
I'm talking about in general.
How you
You're
gonna talk
seeing
about-
a shift. You're seeing a shift, and I'm not saying 70s, 80s, because still today, there are women who are in very traditional gender roles.
Okay,
And
so we're talking about traditional gender roles. So so the people that don't know out there, so back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, traditional gender roles for women were to be at home, take care of the kids, take care of this, and not work. Okay, got it. She didn't want to answer the question, so I'm assuming that's what she's talking about. Because in 2021, we're empowering women many different ways and saying, hey, you can go out there, be the vice president, Kamala Harris. You can go out there and run for president, Hillary Clinton. You can go out there and be a top congressional member, AOC. You can do all these other things. You can be a Fortune 500 CEO. You can do all this stuff now in 2021. Okay, got it. That's what we were talking about. And now we're saying that now you have more women. This is what you're saying, Crystal. You have more women now that watch sports. And because men's sports are traditionally on TV and being, marketed, far more than women's sports, women only see men's sports. And that's what you're saying. Is that what you're saying? Is so I can understand.
yes, women.
Thank you.
majority
Okay,
of-
so we're hold on. No, I don't need an explanation. I got it. Okay, so we understand that. Okay, all right. So I see what Crystal's saying. She's and almost in a sense that she's saying that women are brainwashed, and to the fact that they can't see any other sport outside of a man's sport. I'm not going to sit there and assume that, but I get what she's saying. I get. I said I'm not going to assume it. I said I was making it was a joke. Jokey joke. I get what Crystal is saying now. I've been trying to get this for the last 2.5 weeks. Okay, so I got it. I understand. With my own analysis that I put forth. Say get out.
Help me.
So I get it. So all right. So you're saying that all this stuff is conducive. Is pretty much It helps men's sports. It helps men's sports thrive because there's nothing else marketing women's sports. I get it. I got it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna end it with this on my side, and I'll let you talk. How can you market anything that nobody is willing to tune into?
How do you know they're not willing to tune into it if it's not available for them to tune into?
No. So when I say they're not willing to tune into, prior to COVID, pre-COVID, the arenas, the stadiums, the fields, wherever these women's sports take place, they're open to viewership, to in person, in the seats, viewers. But if they're not attending those, if they're not spending money at those events, how can you pay? How can these leagues pay for airtime? You have to be able to pay for airtime. In order to pay for airtime, you have to have income. You have to have some kind of surplus coming in.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that from people sitting in your seats, running up running up your organization's fees or your income, you can't pay for it. So you get what I'm saying now? If you don't have that, if you don't have it's not as just a snap of the finger or overnight thing where it's like automatically on. There's mechanisms to this thing. There's tiers to this thing. And if they're not being reached, then they can't do anything about it. I don't think
exactly what you said. There is tiers to it. It doesn't change overnight. And I'm not saying it would change overnight. but I'm saying that all these things play a part in not having women and men equality in sports. I mean, yes, you have to have the viewership. How do you get the viewership? Well, you get the sponsorship to be on national television. How do you get the sponsorship? Well, it takes companies to put their faith in, okay, if they sponsor this, is it going to be watched? Is the culture changed enough to where you would have enough viewership looking at women's sports the same way we've looked at men's sports? And we haven't seen that yet. I'm there with you. We haven't seen the viewership for women's sports like we have men's sports. And I think it's also because of the way that society has portrayed men and women throughout the years in these traditional gender roles. Sports has been mainly a man thing. And a lot of men would like to see it still just be a man thing and not.
I don't agree. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. There's some males out there who believe that women have a certain place in life. I get it. I don't think any of us disagree with that. We knew some, right? We knew one at least. But here's the thing. To sit there and say that there's a gender inequality issue within sports is a generalized statement that people use that is not 100% true. And that's what I was trying to do. Hold on. This is what I was trying to do with this conversation is to break down where the inequalities exist. And hold on. And if you break it down and you start looking at the fine line and start looking at how things play out, you can't sit and say there's inequalities because there's nothing that the organizations themselves can do. The NFL can't sit there and say, we're going to let women come out and play with us, right? And then all of a sudden, you start running into the rule changes. Okay, well, all right, well, now if there's a woman on your team, right, you can't hit her too hard. You can't hit her below the legs. The type of changes that come into that kind of stuff will make the game change, and it will lose people's interest. You see it now. Hold on, I'm not saying you did say that. I'm breaking it down. I'm breaking it down for people that are listening, so that way they understand your side and they understand my side.
That's not what my side was. My side was.
Damn. I'm not.
That's not what my side
that was your side, Crystal. What I'm saying is, you got to understand that people understand certain things when they're broken down, and that's what I'm trying to do is break down everything.
Okay.
You gotta break down everything. You have to break it down.
And I was trying to break it down. I was trying to break it down.
No. I can't say that you were bringing it down because I just realized what you were trying to say last week or 2 weeks ago by me breaking it down. So what I'm saying is I got to break it down for everybody out here to watch and listen and say, oh, okay, yes, I get it. So what I was saying,
integrate the National Football League with men and women together on the same team.
What?
I never said that.
You never said what?
I never said that women should join the National Football League men's team.
Oh my Lord, to the three-letter God. Okay, go ahead. What you say?
I never said that. You took
no,
what
you
I
said.
said.
No, tell me what you said. Tell me what you said.
I said there should be equal opportunity if women want to play football to be on their own pro football league.
No, Crystal, please don't. Crystal, you're the one that said. You're the one that said last 2 weeks ago. You said you know some women out there, or you pretty sure. You said you know some women. Or at first you said you know some women. First you said you knew some women.
I know some women. I said I know there are some women that could probably take out some of these men that play football. Yes, there's probably some women out there that could take out some of the men that play football. That didn't mean that they should be on the same team. I never said that. You took what I said and ran with that and was like, oh, so what's stopping these women from going up to FedEx Field and trying out? That's what you said. I never said.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, because you said the comment that you know some people that can go in the NFL and take out some of the. That's what you said last week. I wish I would have recorded. I wish I would have put the. I wish I would have put. Okay, so you did admit that she said it. Okay, so y'all hear it. She said
I
it. So
listen,
what I was saying earlier, what I was saying earlier
guess-
when I broke it down, when I was breaking this thing down, because like I said, when we're talking about inequality in sports, it's a general statement. That's what I said earlier. It's a general statement. But in order to understand inequality in sports, you have to break down the certain inequalities that some believe exist. Right. So we're talking about. We did bring up pay issues when it comes to sports, and I think we understand that if you have a market that is not being viewed, you cannot pay the players the same amount as others, and that's how it goes. That's just like somebody at a Fortune 500 company versus a startup company, and they do the same products. The Fortune 500 employee is going to get paid way more than the startup company. It's just the way it goes. Supply and demand here, not so much here because they're startup. Now, if the tides change, then so be it.
But the tides did change. But the tides with the women's soccer championships that won the Olympics, they got paid less than the men's soccer.
Okay, so I didn't disagree with you on that one. So you're bringing up a point that I did not disagree with you on. Okay, you're not listening. You're not listening to what I said earlier. Let me bring you back in. Let me reel you in. Because I did not disagree with you on that. What I did say was women's soccer is only what 2 times every 2 years they're brought up. The women's Olympic team is only brought up every other year. So if you have that, it's not a consistent thing. It's not a year-round basis. NFL, men's soccer, MLS is every single year. NFL is every single year. NBA is every single year. So when you have that, the viewership is going to be higher on that side, right? Women's soccer is, I get it. They're much better than men's. There's nobody that doesn't believe that. But if you don't have the viewers out there, if you don't have the sponsorships out there, then how can people sit there and say they deserve more money? They deserve the same amount of money as men? And you can't pay them. Nobody's saying that they don't deserve it. You just can't pay them. There's no way to pay them if nobody's giving them the money. That's what I'm saying.
Well, all I'm saying is there is a lot of inequality in sports, and anybody that says or makes excuses for why or all this other stuff, it just is not faced with the reality that there is inequality. Bottom line,
how can you say there's inequality?
If you don't
break it down, you got to understand all the other issues. Understand the issues. That's what I was trying to get out there. I was trying to say we got to understand the issues. We got to understand the inequalities that you're trying to bring out. When you're talking about equal pay, okay, we got it. Let's talk about it. When you talk about men, when you talk about women not being able to play in men's sports, let's talk about it. Why can't they do that? Why can't women
be here for this?
Why can't women play in the NFL? Because of the rules. With physicality. Let's talk about stuff like that. Why can't women play in the NBA? Because of the rules, because of physicality. I guarantee you. Yes, Candace Parker, what's her name? Brittany, God dog, what's her name? I can't remember her name. The big tall center. I guarantee you, man, she would dominate some of them centers in the NBA. We all know it. But because of the physicality, some of the rules, it's not fair. They can't do it. They're not gonna bring it in.
I never said to integrate all women in men's sports. But
the question was that you brought the question up, and I'm answering the question.
All I said was there's inequalities when it comes to the opportunities, when it comes to the pay, when it comes to exposure, when there's inequalities all the way around.
Okay, and that's what I'm trying to. That's what and I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was just trying to break down. I said in order to understand the inequalities that you were talking about, you got to break down and talk about each one and say, and it's not an excuse. You're providing reason for why those things are. Okay, and that's what I did. I provided reason, and you didn't. And you're saying that there's excuse. It's not an excuse. It's reason.
You're trying to break down stuff that I'm saying, but So, but
Because
you
the
have
one
a
that brought it up.
you should
brought
not
it up.
be. So shouldn't I be the one to break it down if I'm saying there is
Man,
inequality?
look, you've been trying to break it down for 2.5 weeks, and nobody understood quite.
No,
quite
I haven't
sure.
been trying to break it down.
I had a hard time understanding what you're saying.
I've been trying to speak on it, but it's hard to even get a word in.
Because you're talking in circles. Round and
No,
round in
because
circles.
you're so gung ho about your opinion that it's hard for me to even get a word in about what I'm saying. And I respect your opinion. I just, on certain things, I don't agree with it.
But you said the same thing over and over again. Women don't get paid. Women don't get paid. Women don't get paid. And I've been trying to say the same thing for the last couple of weeks. Is that the women don't get paid, huh?
That's just one aspect of the inequality.
When you're talking about women being in certain sports, and I kept trying to explain to you the reason why women ain't in certain sports. So it's a round the clock type thing. We started at 0.0 and we went all the way back to 0.0. And that's what I was trying to do today. Was say, all right, you know what? Let's break down each inference. Let's break it down. And let's break it down and say, all right, why is it?
You want to break down the inequalities that I'm pointing out, which doesn't make any sense to me. Because I'm saying if it's inequality, then I should be the one to break it down. But you want to break it down.
So you broke them down though, Crystal. You broke them down and said, well, they're not getting paid. And you said, well, they should be getting paid.
That was just one point I made that points out inequality. I mean, what do you say to the women's track stars that they had a whole court case where they said, they were making these high scores, so they have in their
they got their testosterone levels checked.
Yeah, they got to have their testosterone levels checked because we don't really believe that these are women. What do you say to that?
No. There's same thing. Same thing applies for men. Same thing applies for men.
But it doesn't apply to men. It doesn't apply to men.
Performance enhancement drug tests apply for men in track.
No.
So when your levels, Jose Canseco, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, these type of people.
The women were being forced to take enhancement drugs to lower their testosterone by the Olympics, not to not take it. They were forced to take it to lower their testosterone levels because they were too high. They said in order to be considered a woman, you had to have this level of testosterone.
Okay, so what's the
they were being forced to take artificial drugs to artificially lower their testosterone because according to them, a natural born woman should have between X amount of testosterone range or whatever to be considered a woman. Now, what kind of shit is that? But whereas the men, they're not forced to take anything. And I think a lot of the women track team people in the Olympics said, well, we're just not going to compete because that's bullshit.
So what's the normal T level? What's the normal T level for a woman, an adult woman? The normal T level for an adult woman is between 50 to 70, right? So anything over that, they're gonna test, right? They're gonna say, hey, this is not right. I got it. So anything, and they do the same thing for men. Men go through performance drug test or supplement.
It doesn't. I'm not talking about performance testing. They're testing their natural testosterone level, and it's not. These women were not taking performance enhancement drugs. It's just when you're at a certain athletic build or a certain ability, some women can naturally produce more testosterone. That's been proven in science. But whereas the Olympic Committee, I guess there was a whole court case and the Olympic Committee won because there's still gender discrimination that says that if a woman naturally produces this much testosterone, then they have to artificially lower that to even be considered a natural born woman. Now, if you don't think that's not discrimination, I don't know what is.
We got a good point on that one. I will give you that. But again,
I mean that's just one example of many examples of discrimination against women in sports.
okay. What's the other one?
I mean, I gave you the other one about the women's soccer team, about the championships compared to the male. And I don't have time to look up every single one, but there is a lot of gender discrimination in sports.
Okay.
And there's a lot of gender
like I said, the normal testosterone level for an adult woman is 15 to 70. That's called T levels. Okay, so if you have anybody with a T level of 120, then it's going to raise some questions. So be it. It's science, right? We always talk about listening to science.
It's also science shows that when women
at 120,
when women build up a certain athletic build and ability, their body can naturally produce higher testosterone levels.
At 120?
Maybe so.
I don't know. Like I said, that's a science thing. I don't know. I can see why there was a court case. I can see your argument, but 120? I don't know.
So what do you think? That's not a woman?
It raises some questions. It raises some questions, and it needs to be tested. Just like you had male athletes who out here gotten higher testosterone levels than they should have. They get tested. So I don't know.
Get tested, but forced to take drugs to lower their testosterone level.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that male athletes.
They're not.
I'm pretty sure male athlete. Okay, well, you know a lot of male athletes, Crystal.
No, I'm saying there has never been an instance in the Olympics.
I know some people
to lower their testosterone level to be even considered a man. That's never happened.
I mean, it's what is natural? What is natural? What is a natural high level? Estrogen or testosterone for women?
Women have more estrogen than testosterone. Of course.
So if their testosterone level is higher than their estrogen level, then there's going to be questions, Crystal. There's going to be questions. I'm just saying. That's the same thing. That's the same thing. If the man says, "Hey, my estrogen levels are higher than my testosterone levels," then there's going to be questions. It's just how it goes.
I'm not saying there's not going to be questions, but
but if you got a T level, you got a T level 120.
Who had a T level of 120?
I'm just saying. That's the normal. I'm not saying anybody had that, but that's a normal range for a male. If you reach into that level where males' testosterone levels is in the 100s, and you're a female, it's gonna raise some questions.
So let me tell you something. When a woman builds up a certain athletic build and builds up muscle and everything like that, her T levels can go higher.
Excuse me, 270, my bad. Not 120. I don't know why I got 120.
If you look at female bodybuilders, they can build up the same muscle structure almost like men, and they have higher testosterone. Their body produces more testosterone because of their muscular build. The same happens in athletes.
And so I got the 120, and I'm talking about, when I say 120, I'm talking about free. That's the free testosterone level. That's the, I don't want to get to the whole science of that because I'm not I'm not going to sit here and talk about any medical stuff.
But I mean that's part of it, because now you have them saying that in order for a woman that's naturally born a woman to be considered a woman, she has to have these testosterone levels, which is bullshit.
So you rather them have? I'm confused because you want them to have high testosterone levels and be considered I'm talking about natural testosterone right now.
I'm talking about natural testosterone. Yeah.
You want a woman to. You want them to be considered.
I'm not saying I want them to be anything. I'm saying that
you're calling all this BS, right? And
I'm saying that this all falls into the transgender conversation as well, because when you think about what is considered a woman and a man. Now they're arguing that in order for a woman that's naturally born a woman to even be considered a woman, she has to have this level of testosterone.
So we're going back to the transgender thing. Okay, so
no, it all ties into it.
Okay, so I'm going back to the to the transgender conversation because so you agree that transgender should be able to do whatever sport they want to do based on what they identify. That's what you agree on.
I never said that.
I'm asking you.
I can't say they should or shouldn't right now. The jury is still out on that.
So if the jury's still out on that, right? And you're using the argument about testosterone levels being a certain level and women getting this and this and that and that, how can you sit there and say that it's BS, but you don't have a stance on whether or not a natural born man whose estrogen levels are higher now because they transitioned and they should be able to compete based on their estrogen and testosterone levels in the women's sport, and a natural born woman who is a man now because their testosterone level is the same as a man. So how can you say that's BS when you don't even have a stance on this conversation?
What I'm saying is that the jury is still out on what is even considered a naturally born woman in sports, because
how is it still out?
Because in the Olympics, there are naturally born women that have higher testosterone levels than what is considered to be a woman. And these are natural women. And the court case came out and said, okay, well, maybe something's fishy is going on here. These aren't really women, so we're going to force them to artificially take drugs to lower their testosterone levels. And these were women that they did this to. And a lot of them said, okay, well, we don't agree with that, so we're just not going to compete. Now, that raises the question, if that's the standard that they're using to say that this is a woman versus this is a man, and these were naturally born women, I mean, how can you even consider transgender and anything like that when they haven't even solved the issue of gender equality between men and women? Okay, and that's
stop. So like I said, when you talk about gender equality between men and women, like I said, it's general. So you gotta specify exactly what you're talking about. Because you hold on because you now, so we're talking about the fact that there's women out here who have high testosterone levels versus what is normal, and they're getting ridiculed and put on all these black market type things or blacklist type things, and there's not a sure way of knowing what they classify them as, and we can't fix that issue if we can't fix the transgender issue, we can't fix that basic issue. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, after 2.5 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, we finally understand what Crystal is saying. Congratulations.
Well, after 2.5 weeks, I finally get a say in to where I can explain myself fully.
Lord, you was going all over the place for the last 2.5 weeks.
No, I have not been going all over the place. I've said exactly what I'm saying.
My mama always told me don't argue with a woman, so I'm gonna have to let this show go. All right, y'all. So guess what? Hey, man. Hey, big shout out to everybody that tuned in, man. Let the conversation continue. We went well over. Trent bounced out in typical Trent fashion. Catfish. All right, y'all. Make sure y'all tune in next Sunday, 2 p.m. Make sure you tell a friend. Share everything that you can with us. Remember, treat each other humane and everything like that, man. With peace, love, and happiness, we out.